I have a horrible feeling that we're seeing a breakdown in plain sight. I just the movements, the way they move, the way they talk is so erratic.
Meghan back on royal property.
Yeah, no one is as horrified as I am. I am curious to know your take here. There's two ways we can look at this, okay? I look at it appalled, because I feel like in a way it's giving Harry and Meghan exactly what they want, credibility. It erases the hurt that they've caused over the last 6 years. They've not said I'm sorry publicly.
Harry and Meghan are desperate. They are trying to retrieve their situation sufficiently so that they will become bankable once more.
And you didn't prove your case. You had the opportunity to prove your case. You failed to do so. That's how the legal system works. Yes, no, he's never seen a situation in which he is not the victim, and he enjoys being the victim.
The fact is, they can pop in and have tea. I hope they had Highgrove jam, which is far better than the Meghan slop that she calls spread. So I got to taste what real produce tastes like from the Highgrove shop.
A private jet, a blacked out car, and a meeting so secretive that, reportedly, phones were taken at the door. This week, the internet is losing it over the supposedly secret return of Prince Harry and Meghan Markle to the UK, and the timing could not be more suspicious. Just days after Harry suffered what
she said is exactly right. It's a complete breakdown of the marriage, of Harry's mental stability. Like, nothing's working out for them. How can it? I mean, you just have ulterior motives to do things that you want and you're not getting it. And so you're losing your minds. Your lives are completely falling apart. It's going to get worse and worse. The more they try to brand and get out there to do all these different things to make money, the worse it's going to get. They're a complete disaster.
Being called a devastating legal defeat. The couple was reportedly spotted heading to Highgrove for a meeting with King Charles. So is this reconciliation or damage control? Stick around, because today we're breaking down everything reportedly said, everything allegedly leaked, and why one royal insider claims
Meghan returning to the UK, the country she claims she hates, is a sign of defeat. And it is a sign that they are desperate, and they do need money, and they do need proximity to the British royal family so that they can try to attract new opportunities.
That's really true. So on the one hand, they've won because they're back on royal property. On the other hand, it's a mission of defeat that she tried to go it alone and be Meghan Inc., and it didn't work.
She would not be here if everything had... If she still had to record Confessions of a Female
true.
Founder, if she had a new season of With Love Meghan to shoot, if she was actually working on Meet Me at the Lake, The Wedding Date, or this new Afghanistan movie, Meghan Markle would not have the time to come crawling back to King Charles and Queen Camilla.
because Prince William was completely blindsided. Welcome back to Spotlight Wars. Let's get into it. Let's start with how this whole thing reportedly unraveled. According to multiple UK tabloid sources, Meghan Markle's return to Britain was meant to be kept completely under wraps. No public schedule, no photo ops, nothing. But if there's one...
It will be a private moment from the firm's point of view, but it might not be so private for Meghan and Harry. You just have to worry that this could be more material for another Netflix documentary or a future book.
Well, yes, that you've always got that sort of hanging over the royal family's head, because if it was a frosty meeting, you don't know.
One thing we've learned covering this family, it's that royal secrets in Britain have a shelf life of about 48 hours. Word reportedly leaked almost immediately, and the backlash online was swift. Comment sections filled up with theories and a lot of skepticism. Critics online have been quick to frame this.
It's also been conditional, evidently, on no publicity, no, blah, 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 no leaking. Let's put it like that, no leaking. The last time there was leaking, they have evidently been informed that there can be no leaks, and if there are leaks, there will be consequences. And Harry and Meghan understand that they need the facade of reasonably good relations with the King and Queen.
This visit as anything but a warm family reunion, with many suggesting, and I want to stress, this is public speculation, not confirmed fact, that the couple's proximity to the royal family right now is less about affection and more about optics. The theory going around is this. After a string of...
We know from Charlotte Griffiths and an amazing piece in the Daily Mail, victory lap for Charlotte Griffiths, by the way, saying, of course, that she was briefed by the Sussexes and their PR people, the balcony moment and the build-up to the Clarence House face-to-face summit. It goes in the paper, which is what the Sussexes want, and then they performatively complain and blame the palace for a story that they've planted themselves.
Reported underperformances in their independent ventures of visible, even if unofficial, royal reconnection could help reframe their public image. Again, that's commentary and speculation making the rounds online, not something Buckingham Palace has confirmed. Now here's where the timing gets really interesting. This visit reported...
Do not lose sight of the fact that this has been a catastrophic week for the Sussexes. My take on it is, if Harry had have won, would he have pushed as hard for a reconciliation with his father? Think about that. If you'd have got 50 million rather than losing 50 million, and it's not that much, but you know, that's the speculation, but it's actually a lot less than that. But just place that in your mind. Would Harry have been so keen?
Happened just days after Prince Harry suffered a major setback in his long-running legal battle against Associated newspapers. For those who haven't followed this saga, Harry has spent years and, reportedly, an enormous amount of money pursuing legal action against British tabloid publishers. According to reports,
he couldn't have lost bigger in his court case against newspapers in the UK. Multiple 100-page judgment, basically didn't win a single count. Now he may have to pay millions.
Paul, it's yet another instance of Harry playing the fake victim.
The latest ruling did not go in his favor, with some outlets suggesting he could be on the hook for millions of pounds in legal costs. So you've got a legal defeat that's reportedly expensive, embarrassing, and public, followed almost immediately by a quiet trip home to see the king. Commentators have been quick to connect those.
They would have had to make a significant contribution to Associated newspapers' costs. And remember, as Paul Dacre has said, the costs are in excess of £50 million. Trying to settle, if you're not going to have the other side have an advantage, just is not going to work.
Those dots, suggesting this could be more than coincidence. Whether that's fair or not, we'll let you decide in the comments. But the timing is definitely fueling the narrative. So what actually reportedly happened behind those gates? According to royal insiders cited by UK tabloids, this was not the warm, tearful...
Reported that he tried to settle this case right before.
Huge.
Yeah.
Huge. It shows how desperate he was. And it was £750,000, which will be, what, circa $900,000 roughly in US dollars?
It's a lot.
Something like that. So that was January 24. He had to pay the Daily Mail's legal costs approaching $1 million.
Lady Colin Campbell put it beautifully. The Mail is very good at staring you down, and they...
reconciliation some fans might have hoped for. Sources reportedly claim the meeting lasted less than an hour. Hardly the sit-down, catch-up on lost time reunion you'd expect after years of distance. And the conditions attached to it, according to these same reports, were unusually strict for a family visit.
Take your licks like a professional. That's the lesson these two have never learned. It's none of your business what other people think of you. Take your licks like a grown-up and go on living your beautiful life. If you and whine and sue about it all the time, people hate you. And the press that buys ink by the barrel is only more incentivized to loathe you and to feed the people who loathe you with more negative stories. So it's just the reality of being a public figure. You've got to take it like a grown-up. Stop suing people who have endless supply of time and anger toward you.
Electronic devices reportedly confiscated or left at the door. Staff reportedly warned against discussing any details of the visit. The meeting reportedly kept off any official royal schedule now. It's worth pausing here. We don't have on-the-record confirmation of these specific details from the palace.
Is this going to be a great reconciliation and all of a sudden Harry and Meghan are right back in there? I'm afraid my understanding is that's not what's going to happen. People have long memories. They know what Meghan and Harry are capable of. This is a way of neutralizing them. The royal family normally plays the long game.
This is coming from anonymous sourcing, which tabloids use often, but which readers should always take with a grain of salt. That said, if even partially true, it paints a picture of a family meeting under a level of institutional caution that suggests trust is still very much a work in progress. Perhaps the most talked about detail.
Basically, they carried on until they got somebody to actually answer the phone and confirm in person, and then followed this up by an email to say that no, that you couldn't come here. You see, the idea really was to spin the fact that Harry was going to turn up at Buckingham Palace. He thought he'd booked it all over the previous weekend and was going to be there, maybe looking a bit like Dick Whittington, with a stick over the shoulder and the spotted hanky. Suddenly couldn't get a room at the inn for the night. Now, as the palace pointed out to me, they were more than happy, and the king was more than happy to accommodate him as and when he needs this. But the stipulation was that ultimately he had to make sure he got organised well in advance.
Detail in all of this is the reported reaction from Prince William. According to several UK outlets, William was reportedly not informed in advance and was, in the words of one report, blindsided by the meeting taking place at all. Sources close to the Wales household reportedly suggest that William and Catherine...
Tea is one of the ways where, when you do not particularly want to have much of an interaction with somebody, but you want it to be civil and civilized, you have tea. It's short, it's sweet, it's to the point, and it does not allow for in-depth conversation. And certainly, the fact that they were there for less than an hour should tell you something as well.
Prefer to keep their distance from Harry and Meghan, citing a lack of trust built up over the last several years of public disputes, memoirs, and interviews. Again, none of this is confirmed on the record by Kensington Palace, but the pattern of reporting here is consistent with what we've covered on this channel before. A family that, according...
But a sanctuary for King Charles, all of his life, all of Harry's life, that was the escape when they would go for weekend.
Highgrove.
Highgrove.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Such an intimate place.
Exactly.
And Charles has got his geraniums and his daisies and his rosy, chrysanthemums, whatever it is.
You see, the daffodils are not very intelligent, but the geraniums are very wise, you see, Camilla.
So it's very strange what's happened.
To multiple independent sources over time, remains deeply divided behind the scenes, regardless of what's shown in public. Now here's the part of this story that a lot of people online are pointing to as especially telling. While Meghan reportedly made the trip across the Atlantic for a short, tightly controlled meeting with King Charles.
Evidently, the King and Queen did what the late Queen did and said, no photos. They don't want to be used, supposedly. Let us see what happens down the line. Because this is evidently a test. And if Harry and Meghan pass the test, there will be another meeting. And if they don't pass the test, they will have to wait a very much longer time.
Her own father, Thomas Markle, remains estranged, and he lives significantly closer to her in the United States than Charles does in the UK. According to Thomas Markle's own public statements over the years, he has still never met his grandchildren. For a lot of viewers, that contrast is the real story here.
The burning question, it really does absolutely fascinate me, and I don't know if you feel the same way, is why Harry has never questioned any of this particular story. What on earth did Meghan Markle tell him from the very off, which basically meant, of course, that he couldn't turn up at the wedding and has no contact with him whatsoever.
Is to travel internationally under strict, reportedly awkward conditions for the royal family, while a far shorter reunion with her own father hasn't happened at all. We're not going to speculate on the personal reasons for that estrangement. That's between Meghan and her father. But the optics, especially timed against this royal visit, are clearly part of why this story has taken.
Always used men to take her to the next level, whether it was Thomas Markle, Trevor Ingleson, or Prince Harry.
It's a really good point.
Our favorite
Piers
feminist.
Morgan when she was in the
Piers
UK.
Morgan, our favorite feminist.
Oh, I know. That's right. She talks about being a role model to little girls, which is, marry a rich prince.
Taken off online. So where does this all go from here? A few threads worth watching. First, there's renewed chatter online about the so-called 10-year rule related to California divorce law, with some commentators speculating about what it could mean for Harry and Meghan's future. Though it's worth noting neither has filed anything publicly, and this remains...
Thomas Markle, does he not get a look in? If she's so keen, Harry, with his father recovering from cancer and still having treatment, the other side, repair the family connections.
Firmly in rumor territory. Second, given the couple's history of tell-all interviews and memoirs, some commentators are already speculating whether this visit could eventually become material for a future project, a docuseries, a book, an interview. Again, pure speculation, but given the track record, it's not an unreasonable guess.
Markle says hi.
Well, I know. Because Thomas is the elephant in the room, of course. And you've identified that if we're going to get families back together and life's too short, blood is thicker than water. Hello?
Yeah.
Meghan's father.
Yes.
So you're absolutely right. Of course, it ain't going to happen, is it? By the way, is Thomas Markle back in the United States?
The last I heard reported was that he needed some help in navigating this new life with his prosthetic leg.
Yes. And finally, will this actually thaw relations with William, or was this a one-off, purely transactional meeting? Royal watchers seem split. Let's dig deeper into the theory a lot of you have been discussing in the comments on our previous videos, the financial angle. According to entertainment industry reporting over the past year.
What you've now done is effectively run and rub sort of very cruelness, if you like, in Thomas Markle's circle, whichever way you look at it. Unless, of course, the king, and we don't know this, and I certainly don't know this at this point, unless the king has instructed that Harry makes contact with Thomas Markle. I think that's going to be a problem, because as these two invariably parade that story, which they will do, make no mistake about it, somewhere, somehow, somebody will get the story.
Several of the couple's independent projects have reportedly underperformed relative to expectations. Their Spotify deal reportedly ended early. Reports on Netflix's renewed output have been mixed, with some industry outlets suggesting the couple's content slate hasn't hit the scale originally projected. Meghan's lifestyle brand has...
Prince William and Catherine do not want anything to do with it because they believe that they cannot be trusted. That's my perception, not their words, but that's what I believe, right? As it goes further down, I think they won't be able to resist themselves because Meghan's had this bite of the cherry before and she made a spectacular mess of it.
Has reportedly had a rocky rollout, with some retail analysts quoted in trade press expressing skepticism about long-term demand. None of this is confirmed in hard financial filings. Most of it is trade press speculation and anonymous industry sourcing. But if even partially accurate, it would explain why commentators are connecting.
In reality, we find out Catherine has realized she has cancer, and she's quietly trying to navigate that cancer and how to tell her 3 small children, while Harry and Meghan's friends are stirring the pot and creating absolute chaos and devastation around them. And King Charles, you're going to welcome this family into your home.
This royal visit to a broader pattern. A couple reportedly looking to reassociate with an institution that still commands global attention at a moment when their independent ventures are reportedly facing headwinds. Again, we want to be clear. Correlation isn't causation. But the optics, especially stacked against a legal defeat,
put us in a situation where there is a constitutional crisis. How long can the king, who has been incredibly generous in extending the olive branch, in allowing them to have and retain those titles, when I think we've moved so far from the Sandringham Summit and what was agreed then?
and a quiet palace visit in the same news cycle, are doing a lot of the talking here. Again, we want to be clear, correlation isn't causation. But the optics, especially stacked against a legal defeat and a quiet palace visit in the same news cycle, are doing a lot of the talking here. This isn't the first time we've seen a...
What sticks in the craw for me, Rupert, is what a public relations triumph this is for the Sussexes, a couple that have done so much damage to the royal family.
Senior or former royal reportedly make a quiet trip home during a difficult news cycle. Royal historians and commentators have long noted a pattern within the institution. When a family member is facing negative press, a low-key, tightly controlled reappearance is sometimes used, according to royal watchers, as a way...
And I think that this is a wild betrayal
I agree.
of those loyal members of the royal family who have suffered at the hands of the Sussexes, most notably William and Catherine, but also Charles and Camilla, both
But
of
let's
whom
not forget
have been
Queen Elizabeth,
cast
Prince...
so negatively. And that's exactly right. There are those figures who aren't even here now to defend their legacy, who have been damaged by what the couple have done. It's a reward for bad behavior.
...to project stability without inviting further scrutiny. Commentators covering this story have drawn comparisons to previous instances where visits were arranged with minimal public notice, specifically to avoid feeding a news cycle, rather than to genuinely reconnect. Whether that pattern applies here is, again...
Harry and Meghan have been planting all these stories because they are desperate. They are in the last chance saloon and they understand it.
In speculation, but it's a lens several UK royal correspondents have reportedly used to interpret this particular trip. What makes this case a little different, according to commentary online, is the reported strictness of the conditions, the device confiscation, the short window, the lack of any official acknowledgement.
Charles does not want Harry coming with the begging bowl. He understands that Meghan and Harry need this visit to top up their saleability internationally, especially in the United States.
That level of control suggests, at minimum, that whoever arranged this wanted to control the narrative tightly, whatever the actual purpose of the meeting was. Now let's talk about how the internet has actually reacted, because honestly, this might be the most divided I've seen the comment sections in a while. On one side, you've got a large group of...
Cannot use press on your whim. You can't use press as a tool to satisfy your whim. You work with the press. It's a symbiotic relationship. And this is where Harry gets it so wrong. He's attacking the press and then wanting the press to leak stories so that he can get his way with his security. It's just so erratic. And I do worry that he isn't operating correctly.
Commenters who feel this whole story is being blown out of proportion by tabloids looking for engagement, pointing out that we don't have a single confirmed detail from an official source. And that's a completely fair point, one we want to reinforce again here. On the other side, you've got viewers who feel the pattern, legal defeat, quiet...
Also artificial. Nothing is real with this couple, is it?
Yes.
Everything's confected, everything's stage managed.
This is the nanny agency concerned about placing people with the Sussexes because of their reputations. It's them
The nanny agency has a duty of care and is worried about the welfare of the nannies.
Yes.
Because they're going to have to work under Meghan, who is a notoriously harsh boss.
Visit reported business struggles is too consistent to ignore, and that even without official confirmation, the reported details paint a believable picture given the family's history. There's also a smaller but vocal group specifically reacting to the Thomas Markle comparison we covered earlier, with many saying that the
He doesn't tend to, if the publicity's not good, she's the last person in the world who's going to put her head above the parapet to support him. She's always fawning at how much he dotes on her and always all this sort of stuff. But it tends to be quite often a bit one-way street as far as that's concerned.
Yes, and it could be a bit cultural, Rupert. Americans don't like losers.
Tale that bothers them most regardless of what actually happened at Highgrove. Where do you land? We genuinely want to know. Drop in the comments, because these reaction threads are usually where the best follow-up video ideas come from. So what should we actually be watching for in the coming weeks? A few things. 1. Whether the palace issues any kind of...
I believe that Harry and Meghan will divorce. And I don't think it will be anytime soon, but it will happen. And it's when Meghan calculates that Harry is of no longer of any use. And at the moment, it's not looking good for him.
But the California court system says 10 years is what she...
Well, and wasn't that what you told me the other day?
Yeah.
That we're waiting for the 10-year rule, which is, from memory, they married in, was it 2018?
Yes.
So 2 more years.
Statement, even an indirect one, acknowledging the visit happened. Historically, official silence tends to continue unless press pressure becomes too large to ignore. 2. Whether Prince William or Kensington Palace makes any public comment, direct or indirect, about the reported blindsiding.
And when they divorce, are you ready for this?
Yeah.
She remains the Duchess of Sussex.
Just like nasty Fergie Duchess of York.
People don't realize that.
Yeah.
And that's why I think Meghan might hesitate to remarry straight away, because she'd lose Duchess. I think she'll be clinging on to that title for dear life. So I think maybe a courtship with maybe one of those Silicon Valley billionaires.
Yeah.
So far, there's been no official reaction, and royal watchers suggest that silence itself might be telling. 3. Any further developments in the Associated Newspapers case, since Harry's legal costs and next steps, there could shape how this whole story is remembered. Some legal commentators have suggested further proceedings.
Be a Christmas reunion. Now, I don't know how that would play out with William and Catherine. And, you know, that walk, the famous walk on Christmas morning, that's not going to be very nice, is it? But as I said, the problem that you have with somebody like the King, William is the only person that doesn't technically have to do what he says. You know, as the monarch in waiting, he can actually do what he wants. And in turn, so can Catherine, the Princess of Wales.
Or appeals are possible, though nothing has reportedly been confirmed. And 4. Whether Meghan and Harry's team puts out any content, interviews, or statements in the coming months that seem to reference or build on this visit. Given their history, a lot of commentators expect this story isn't over. It may just be the...
I suspect, I could be wrong, that Meghan and Harry might have finally learned enough of a lesson to honour the terms of the meeting. If they don't, they're going to live to regret it, I am assured.
Opening chapter. At the end of the day, we still don't have official confirmation of most of these details. This is a story built almost entirely on anonymous royal sourcing, trade press, and tabloid reporting, and it's important to treat it that way. But whether it's fully accurate or not, it tells us something about how divided this family still appears to be, years after everything that's happened. What do you think? Genuine reconciliation or pure damage control? Drop your take in the comments. And if you want more deep dives like this, hit subscribe, because we're not done with this story. See you in the next one.